Drive-thru workers of Reddit, what's the weirdest thing you've seen in someone's car? A waifu pillow. I'm not exaggerating. I gave the man his milkshake and food and he literally put some whipped cream on the pillow. A lizard chilling on someone's dashboard being fed veggies. A cat was also in the same car. My mother used to work the drive-thru at Burger King when she was a teenager. She told me that a man used to come through some nights completely naked except for black see-through stockings. A tortoise that took up the whole passenger seat. Well, it wouldn't have taken him too long to walk there. I once saw a woman roll up to the window and she must have been a dominatrix as she had a man in the back in a leather outfit and a rubber pig mask. I can only imagine that was his kink to get embarrassed at a KFC drive-thru. A woman came through with no passenger side seat. It had been pulled out, and in its place hung a giant metal ring with an enormous cockatoo sitting on it. Thing was going mental when she pulled up. There are some crazy bird people out there. I knew a lady who let her parrot sleep in her bed. She rolled over in her sleep and smothered the poor thing. Also, her shirts all had crap stains trailing down them from letting the bird just sit and poop on her shoulders. A baby kangaroo. To clarify, I live in New England and this is not normal. To be honest, I was just out of view of it, but it caused quite a clamor. Even in Australia, I can't imagine driving around with kangaroos is particularly common. I once complimented a woman on her purse that was in the exact shape of a chicken. It was made of colored rubber. Really unique item. She proceeds to tell me to hold on, gets out of the car and grabs an identical chicken purse and gives it to me, saying that she has been waiting for the right person to give this to. It was used and quite old. Please tell me you still have it and can take pictures. When I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, this guy came through the drive-thru with a huge falcon in his passenger seat. Once had a hearse complete with coffin pull-through followed by family and friends and the cars behind. They said the guy in the coffin always enjoyed McDonald's, so it was his final wish to be visit one more time. This is so much sweeter than my hearse customer. When I was working at McDonald's, one time a woman pulled up with 3 monkeys and ordered them each an ice cream cone. I still think about that from time to time. Back when I worked drive-thru at a McDonald's, I had this guy ordering who, number 1, took like 5 minutes to order a breakfast burrito and a drink, so I was pretty fed up already when he got to the window. When this car pulled up, I was really not expecting to see a chick wearing nothing but a bra and panties in the backseat snorting see off of an iPhone. I was staring at her while I took the guy's cash and she glanced up and noticed me and ducked down a little bit, like, babe, you're in a pretty short car. If I can see the floor from here I can definitely see you. Guy just drove off to the next window like nothing happened. Also served a lady on a horse one time and was subsequently told they had to be in a motor vehicle to come through the drive-thru. But that wasn't as strange since there are horses in our area. That story escalated quickly. I work at a drive-thru car wash. Woman came through with a bucket of KFC mashed potatoes stuck to her window. We cleaned it off. Was it the inside or outside of the window? Because that could change the story significantly. I was the driver in this case, but I worked at a grocery store, and our order of bananas hadn't come in. I was asked to go to another store in our chain and pick up extra bananas they had in stock. Decided to grab some food on the way back, with my car packed to the brim with bananas. The cashier seemed relatively unfazed, and just said, "Ha, that's a lot of bananas. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me one go home." Not a drive-thru worker, but I was in the passenger seat at a drive-thru bank and had a funny experience. Friend was depositing money. The teller sends back a receipt and a dog treat. Confused, my friend asks what the dog treat is for. The teller points and says your dog in the back seat. At that point, my friend's younger sister, who had been leaning forward brushing her own hair, looked up at the teller. The teller was very apologetic for her confusion, and we all had a good laugh. Well, except for the sister. She wasn't too thrilled about being confused for a dog. Worked at McDonald's, especially in drive-thru. Saw a hoarder who could only go to our McDonald's because we didn't have a sharp turn into our parking lot. Her car was too filled she couldn't use her steering wheel. Had someone with a pet pig and duck. Gave them free ice cream. A cardboard cutout of I crap you not. Danny DeVito. Good times. The gang goes to McDonald's. Used to work at the drive-thru of Starbucks for some extra money about a year ago. I once had a couple drive up and the girl had a bunch of bags on her and in front of her feet. From what I could tell, they were adult toys. It was like 10 bags, but I just averted my eyes and handed them their drinks. Needless to say, the guy was pretty embarrassed because he could tell I was uncomfortable. I bet this person worked for one of those adult toy MLMs that hosts parties in people's houses. More than a dozen teenagers in a small hot boxed car. $0.39 for a cheeseburger, limit 20 was the deal. They ordered 20. What country is this where a cheeseburger is $0.39? One time someone just snorted C right in front of me. That and one time someone had a duck and a towel in between her boobs. He was cold. Former Taco Bell worker. One time a guy ordered with a parrot on his shoulder. I didn't say anything about it. He didn't say anything about it. I still wonder if that's just how he drove around town. I've been the guy with the parrot on a shoulder. Usually I have her in a cage when I'm in the car, but one time my house was getting sprayed for pests and I didn't want to take the chance that it would be bad for my bird, so we went for a car ride. I think I got Jack in the Box that time, but my Konya does love Taco Bell. Some church guy on his way to an event handed me a cookie through the drive-thru window. I was very appreciative. A giant, industrial-sized trash bag full of nachos. It pretty much took up the entire back seat. When I asked the guy where he was going to get enough salsa for those chips, he genuinely seemed disappointed because he hadn't thought of that. Apparently the Mexican restaurant next door was throwing them out and the guy asked if he could have them because he was stoned and it seemed like a good idea at the time. When you get tortilla chips but no salsa or cheese, it's nacho day. Chick-fil-A. A butt-ass naked, except a hat and sandals. Middle-aged long-haired guy pulls through in a Jeep with all the doors and top taken off. We still served him. No one was comfortable looking at him except for me. I was the window person. I didn't make an expression and acted like it was nothing to me, and his goofy smile faded pretty quick after the less than enthusiastic my pleasure. Everyone thought I was God. Me 1. Pervert 0. Working at Hardee's, we had a bunch of drunks in a Target shopping cart being pushed by another drunk person come up to the drive-thru speaker to order dinner. We couldn't serve them because they weren't in a motor vehicle. I say motor vehicle because we had someone come up to the drive-thru window on a motorized bicycle or hot rod bicycle, and we served them. Dana White, and he had like 5 championship belts in his car. There is probably a logical reason why he had all of those, like I know some champions weren't defending their belts and there was going to be interim fights and maybe he collects them before a fight or something, I don't know. But with the way he acts, I think it would be easy to believe he just snatches the belts from the fighters after a fight and rides around with them as an ego boost, lol. Jamie, pull this crap up. Just a couple of naked girls trying to cover themselves with the same blanket. Had a regular who would come through drive-thru with a parrot that would angrily demand french fries or chicken nuggets. Varied from day to day. When at the speaker, the driver would keep stopping to tell it to shut up. Thought there was a drunk frat boy in the car with the driver the first time I came across the duo. Pretty bird. I usually saved a single french fry to give to him when I heard his familiar screaming through the headset. Literally hundreds upon hundreds of needles in a backseat of an abandoned car. The front 2 seats were filled with garbage and crap, but the backseat was just filled with needles. Working night shift at Burger King, had a group of girls flash me for free food. Seemed like a fair trade at the time. Slightly off topic. I used to work at a sandwich shop called Lenny's, and whilst I was slicing meat one day a guy walked in and ordered his food wearing a full ghillie suit. I asked my co-workers later on and they thought nothing of it. One time I was working drive-thru and I could hear the bass coming from this really expensive looking Jeep with those blue underlights. We were curious as to who would pull up. It was 4 guys dressed completely like the Blue Man Group. Music blaring. They didn't say anything. It was weird. I asked the worker by instead the driver. I pulled through while holding a live chicken that I was bringing to my sister. Working drive-thru at Starbucks, some guy pulled through with car filled with boxes. He said they were filled with flashlights and offered me some. I completely forgot about it till I got off work. When I got out to my car there were 5 boxes each filled with 20 brand new Duracell flashlights still in the packaging. Had to be worth at least $500. And he had many more boxes. Worked at In-N-Out Burger for about a year. More than once we'd have people late at night pull up with opaque, white windows. They roll it down to pay, collect their food, and marijuana smokes just pours out. A bunch of nuns getting ice cream. It was cute. Worst was probably a drunk lady talking to her dog and to herself, like screaming at her dog. Went around the building a few times until the cops came. Not a drive-through worker, but tire tech. I've worked on a car that had pistachio shells and anything that could hold them. Cup holders, door handles, gauge cluster, anything. Not weird by most standards, but one of my clients has the largest, brownest dog I have ever seen, a Newfoundland, though large by the breed standards. So help me God, at a distance I thought this woman had a bear cub in her car. Said dog also enjoys dog biscuits but is so gentle that she can't always keep them in her mouth. Sometimes she drops them outside the car and I have to send out a new one. I freaking love that dog. One time a lady came through and, I'm assuming, her mother in the passenger seat was eating spoonfuls of sugar straight out of the packet. This guy would bring his elderly mother and his dogs through the drive-thru every day, but his mom always sat in the back seat and 3 of his dogs shared the passenger seat. Also a guy whom I'm pretty sure was a registered sex offender would come every day and order a plain cup of McDonald's yogurt and tell me to give his change to the kids. Not really a weird thing, but a rather funny occurrence. I was taking someone's money and they were on Tinder and oh, hey, it was my profile they were looking at, though I don't think they realized it cause they never once looked my direction. And of course they swiped left. LOL, that's okay, though. Their car was a mess inside. That's a pretty big tell, I feel. A duck and a goat in the Tim Hortons drive-thru. Was pretty confused when the duck owner asked for a tomato. I have seen my fair share of tea. Unfortunately it is usually not the most attractive women who accidentally flash the workers. 5 years at the BK Lounge. I concur. Thankfully I did not have to truly see this extra passenger. We had a funeral home close to our store and their less sociable prep people would come through our drive-thru regularly in the large van we all knew transported the bodies. A handful of times she brought the actual freaking hearse through but swore the casket in back was empty. You could see she adored the attention and questions and it was genuinely uncomfortable to talk with her. Only thing I can say I'm grateful for is that she didn't park in one of the car hop stalls. Just a general vibe of nap. I don't need a reminder of where this patty melt is going to land me. She was just taking her boyfriend out for a nice meal. My dad used to work at a Burger King and he once told me that a friend of his went through the drive-thru backwards while drunk. A pack of drunk people. Not the only time it happened, but what made this one fun was the cop car behind them in line. The idiot asked my window worker not to tell on them jokingly, after being just as awful as you'd expect a car full of drunk people who saw no problem with drunk driving to be. She came to me as they pulled away and told me, asked me if she could tell the cop. I calmed his meal and gave her my blessing. You don't get a lot of wins in fast food, so that one stuck with me. A lady in labor, in the driver's seat, by herself, ordering food. She was literally having contractions and doing the weird breathing thing that women are supposed to do to help with the pain. She said she was on the way to the hospital but she wanted to get a burger, fries, and a soda before she went. There wasn't even anyone with her. That lady drove herself to the hospital while having contractions and chowing down on a goddamn burger. This pirate hamster is here to steal all of your cheese. Subscribe in 2.15 seconds or he'll do it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.